Hello, good day. Welcome once again to our learning session in project construction and management subject. Okay, so we are now on learning session 8 and 9, which are entitled Crashing and Post Plan for LS 8 and Labor Management Relations for LS 9. Okay, so I decided to use the two learning sessions on this video because I will discuss theoretically some important things that we need to learn about these learning sessions. Okay, so for crashing cost plan, we will enumerate the procedures on how to do it. And for labor management relations, we will introduce and maybe share some inputs regarding this learning session. Okay, so let's go to our presentation. Okay, so learning session 8, see, this is crossing and cost plan. Okay, so reducing time and cost. Okay, so remember guys that time in project is very important. Okay, so if you want to save resources or money, you need to play the time or the duration of the project. Okay, so meaning what I mean play is you have to think of a way to shorten before the, let us say, your project completion date. Okay, so the purpose of this one is number one is to save money. Okay, then number two is to avoid delay. Okay, so remember that if your project will be delayed, you will be penalized. Okay, so the penalty for that one is not only verbal, but also in monetary value. Okay, so that is why we need to be careful on dealing with time and cost. Okay, so now the activity time for project constructions are normally estimated for some given level of resources. Then, however, on several occasions, the length of the project time of activities will reduce. Okay, so we reduce by injecting additional resources. Okay, so what are the example of these additional resources? So number one example, you will increase your man hours of a certain activity, meaning you will, if you will not add people as your resources, is you have to conduct overtime. Okay, so meaning you have to tell your people to work overtime so that their activities will be finished ahead of time. Okay, the urgent desire to shorten project construction time is influenced by the following factors. Okay, so number one, to avoid penalties for not completing the project on time. Okay, so this is what uh, I'm pointing a while ago. Then number two, to take advantage of monetary incentives for completing the project on or before the target date. Okay, so meaning it's like a reward. Okay, so a reward for your team for doing a good job. Okay, by completing the project ahead of time. Then we have to free the resources such as money, equipment, and men for use on other projects. Okay, so this is one thing because there are companies who have a lot of projects. Okay, so this is good. So that is why this is one of their method, so that they will benefit or gain more profit by using this one. Okay, by cost crushing the time and cost. Okay. Number four, we have reduce indirect cost associated with the project, such as, okay, facilities and equipment cost. Okay, letter B, the supervision cost. Then letter C, we have labor cost. Then letter D is personnel cost. Okay, so these are indirect cost. Okay, so meaning if you conduct or implement a crashing of your project time and cost, you will save the money or the budget allocated for these items. Okay, so we have facilities and equipment. Okay, so especially if you have a bunkhouse or a temporary rooms for your people there, so you will have expenses if especially if you are giving a free food, let's see, and electricity also, then your other personnel needed in that facilities. Okay, then equipment. Okay, so that will be additional cost if you will not do this kind of method, the crushing. Okay. In letter B, we have supervision cost. Okay, labor cost and personnel cost. Then this method will aid the manager in making rational decision on which activities, if any, to be crushed and to what extent will the crushing possible. Okay, so the one important thing we need to keep in mind in doing this one is we have to analyze the activities, because there are activity that you cannot actually compress or crush. Okay, so there are reasons. So that is why we need to study and analyze those activities. Okay, so maybe we have to write some consequences if those activities is being grasp or reduced. Okay, so the manager needs the following information. Okay, so regular time and crash time estimates for each activity. Okay, so usually this one, if this data will be prepared, the good thing for this one is the actual supervisor who is in charge of that works or activities. Okay, so that's the good uh, person who can give you the right data. Okay, so for this one, so as I mentioned before, this one is very crucial and important. Okay, so you cannot just cross the time directly without knowing some consequences of your plan. Okay, so number two, we have regular cost and cross estimate for each activity. Okay, so this is double. Okay, a list of activities that are on critical path. Okay, remember critical path is the longest route. Okay, or longest path on the network. Okay, so you need to provide the list of that one. Then we have potential candidates for crashing are activities on critical path. Okay, so remember that the critical path is the longest path. Okay, so meaning it controls your project duration. Okay, so meaning this path is the control. So that is why the best or potential candidate for crashing is that path. Okay. Then these are the procedure in crashing project time. Okay, so we need to follow this one, this procedure, to be able to do proper crashing. Okay. The number one, obtain an estimate of regular and crash time plus the cost of each activity. Okay, so obtain an estimate of regular and crash time plus the cost of each activity. Okay, so number two, we have to determine the length of all paths and their flow time. Okay, so number three, we have to determine which activities are on the critical path. Okay, so number four, we have to cross the critical activities in the order of increasing cost as long as crashing costs do not exceed benefits. Okay, so we need to remember this procedure number four. I will repeat this one. So cross the critical activities in the order of increasing cost as long as crashing costs do not exceed benefits. Okay. Okay, so there are instances where two or more paths may become critical as the original critical path become shorter so that the next improvement will require simultaneous shortening of two or more paths. Okay? So in some instances, it is more economical to shorten an activity that is two or more of the critical paths. This is correct if the crossing cost of the joint activity is less than the sum of crossing one activity of its separate path. Okay. Okay. So I think that's all for learning session 8, which is the crashing and cost plan. Okay, so the objective of this one, I may repeat again that this is for the good of the project by minimizing your cost and doing a good job by completing your project ahead on time. Then we are now on the last learning session of the subject, which is entitled Labor Management Relations. Okay, so remember guys that we have if we are running a company, we are abiding laws and regulations regarding the labor. Okay, so labor code. Okay, so this is if you are if you are working in private, this is monitored by DOLE, so Department of Labor and Employment, and I think for in the government, this is being run by the Civil Service Commission. I think that's the one, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so then if we are running a project, labor and management relations is very important. Okay, so remember that when we are doing a project, people is one of your important resources aside from your equipment, financial, and other related resources. Okay, So labor or people. Okay, so labor relations. Labor relations occupies an increasingly large part of the supervisor's time. Formerly, under individual bargaining, each employee made his own agreement regarding wages, hours, and working conditions. Okay? The bargaining is fast often simply by accepting employers' term. Okay, so there are companies that don't have good relationship with its let us say labor or personnel. Uh, but there are other which have harmonious relationship for this one. So remember that there are companies that employees are conducting strikes. So like that one. Okay, so because there are in a company there are labor unions. Oh, that one. Okay, so I think the purpose of that one is to protect the interest of the let us say the employees. Okay, so but in my opinion, the labor union in the management should let us say work hand on hand, or they should work properly and harmoniously. Okay, so because the number objective uh, is to number one is if your project is to complete a project, and of course for the owner is to gain profit, and for the labor is uh, for their pay. Okay, so I think talking or discussions, healthy discussions is needed for this one. Okay, so today, collective bargaining take much time, especially with the power of giant employers and the much power of giant unions are so great. Okay, so this is present in big companies. Okay, so big companies also has big unions. Okay, so labor unions. Okay, so that's the actual scenario in our society. Okay, so that their agreements are so bitter and the impact of their disagreement on the public is sharply felt, that the government intervention is invited. Okay, so I think this one is uh, for the example for those companies who are private. Okay, so there are situations that the government intervene or uh, let us say to the two sides. Okay, took to the two sides on uh what method, or let us say solutions to solve that kind of problems if they have this disagreement between two parties, between the management and the labor unions. Okay, so usually in my observation, there are the usual demand, I think, is of course about pay. Okay, so people or these personnel demanded, let us say, increase or payment, which they think that they needed or they wanted. Okay, then management and labor leaders must find ways of working together if our present free collective bargaining is to continue. Okay? So this is very important. The management and the labor leaders, okay, must find ways working together. Okay? So what's the use of working if the management and your people is not doing well? Okay, so you are not uh, let us say going to your right vision and mission of your company. Okay, so that is some inputs that I have in these topics. Okay. Okay, so I think that's end our learning session for the project construction and management. I hope you learn something in our discussions, and see you guys. I have some subjects that I have posted in my YouTube channel. So I think I have the ongoing is I have a CAD. Okay, so I plan to add more subjects so that I can help our engineering students. Okay, so in my own little way, I can help them in their quest for learning and becoming a engineer someday. Okay, so I think that's all for the project construction and management. Thank you and God bless.